Alright guys, a little humbled. This last video about the future of the hobby totally caught me by surprise. I actually had second thoughts about doing that. You start throwing some opinions out there, and sometimes half the people are upset about what you said and the other half agree. But in 4 days, that video is now approaching 2,300 views and 55 comments. My channel I've been doing for probably about 2 years. I've never had that kind of response and never had that many comments on any of my content. So I wanted to go through it and actually give everybody a synopsis of what everybody's thinking about the hobby. And I'm also glad to say nobody was negative, or everybody was positive about the future. So I think we have a little microcosm of the people that love the hobby and want to keep it going. So in response to the video, these were the comments that I got. 1, 2, 3, 5 people were concerned about, yes, the hobby is aging out, and where are we going to go with it to keep it alive, to keep the shows going. The overwhelming viewpoint brought was in reference to the price of the hobby. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 separate comments on the ridiculous amount it costs to buy engines and the offerings. And that segued into the general feeling across the board. Nobody wants to get into the hobby because of the cost. And that segued into another sub-content of the new stuff. It's all from China, it's not reliable, and so nobody wants to buy that either. And segue that back into not bringing new people into the hobby. So if you look at all that from my point of view, you can actually still get into this hobby cheaply if you focus on what the whole strength of the hobby has been. This hobby was always built on Lionel, and to a lesser extent American flyer trains from the post-war era. And if you go back and look at those trains, they were actually cherished toys, and that's why they still exist to this day. The other side of that equation is you can still buy parts and fix all of that stuff. So everything that was quote-unquote a toy in the 40s, 50s, and 60s is still able to be fixed and parts found. And it's not because the original manufacturers are making them. There was a demand for that. So you can get yourself a mint post-war set boxed for less than you can buy a new engine. Lionel's offering of engines, you know, basically you're talking $1,800 to $2,500 for an engine. Post-war sets, like new original set box sets, come with everything including track, and you can pick those things up for $900 if you want that super collectible stuff. If you go and do it piecemeal, you can get into the hobby for, you know, $500 might seem like a lot of money, but you can get into this hobby and have something pretty damn nice for $500. The next segue is, has the TCA lost its way? I don't think the TCA has lost its way, but the problem is it is not doing anything for the future. There were 6 comments on why belong to the TCA, what are the benefits, and the TCA probably needs to do a better job at that. But the issue at hand is we need younger people to come and steer that way. I find it myself trying to change little things. Like, again, I work with the board, but I'm not part of the Southern Division board. So I come from a little bit of a different perspective, and it's hard to change the ways. And if they don't start looking for the future, they will just go into oblivion. The local train shows have a different mentality, and it's not the, oh, this is so collectible, it'll always be worth that mentality of the TCA. And everybody kind of chimed in, and it's why I joined the TCA, is I wanted to be able to go and experience York. And I've done that, and no matter how you slice that, going and experiencing that show is, for a hobbyist, you have to do it once. It is, you can't go there and not find something you think is a good deal. You still will have the old regime, well, something brand new in a box, and it's gonna be overpriced. But you if you want it, you're gonna find it there. As far as York goes, there were 4 people that are planning to go to this October show as their first time to York. That's encouraging. There was a number of independent observations about the TCA, and one person felt that when you go to a TCA show, it was a bunch of stuffed shirts, and they were talked down to because they were a novice. So there was no mentoring from wherever he went with a TCA group. There were 3 people that said the TCA needs to improve upon planning for the future, because we do nothing to grow the hobby. And one of the things that somebody else went off is TCA shows seem stale, with the same people all the time selling the same stuff, and at overpriced prices. I don't know about that one so much, because all shows, like, I'm a member of the TCA. I do a number of TCA shows. I also do some private shows. For me, the advantage of the private shows is it is a different group of people, because you don't have to be a member of the TCA to sell there. It's also more of a chance of an entry-level person, and they are cheaper. Tables, and I'm in Florida, so this is probably geographic, but to get a table to sell in Florida is roughly $20 to $30, and the TCA is on the higher end of table costs, but they're not by any stretch the most expensive. There's a group that does a DeLand show, and they want $45 a table, and that's, by the time you do travel and a hotel for a show, a vendor could have $500 already invested in a show before the door even opens. So I don't really do the DeLand show. It's just too much money. Then people say, well, why, following up on the other one, why should you join the TCA? Well, each TCA division is supposed to offer 4 geographical shows in that division, and they're supposed to be spread out in that division, so everybody in that area knows that at least once a year they're going to have an opportunity to go buy a show. Like everything else, hall rentals have all gone up. For the Southern Division, renting a hall that would accommodate, say, 80 to 100 tables is going to cost the local division anywhere from $1,800 to $2,200 just to hold the show. So if you divide that number out and you're charging $30 a table, you're not going to hit that 1800, even if you're charging people $5, $10 to come into the show. So all these shows are subsidized one way or another by your local dues. And of course, the only show that does not do that is York, as York is so big. And the York show, for those who aren't familiar with it, they rent the entire fairgrounds in York. That is an extremely expensive show to run, and that's why you're paying the extra $25 even if you are a TCA member to attend that show. It's a stiff price, I understand, but it's still worth it, at least the October show, for me to go do that, just to be able to talk to people, see what's going on, and what is changing in there. To me, the future of this hobby is the past, because the collectability portion of this hobby, there were a number of things on that, what's collectible anymore. And it's funny because none of this new stuff will ever be collectible. You look at, Lionel basically doesn't produce trains anymore. They offer you a catalog, and then you raise your hand and say, I want one of those, give them a deposit, and in a year, if you're lucky, if it's a base 3, what was that? 3 years, I paid for my base 3, and 3 years later it showed up. Nothing's collectible. The post-war stuff was collectible because nobody thought it would be a big thing 25 years later. That's, at least my generation and the ones after, we've all learned right away, don't buy anything that says, oh, a special edition, because they've made so many special editions just to sell them there and now. They don't go up any more than anything else. Just look at Star Wars stuff. I mean, the original stuff is always worth stuff, but none of the special edition stuff made after the 90s and 2000s are ever going to make anything. So go with what's tried and true. I would stay with the post-war, and if you like the bells and the whistles of the new stuff, as long as you can go physically see it working before you buy it, it's probably a good deal, because you should be able to pick up all that stuff at least 50%, 60% of what it originally sold for. One person went, what is the future for the TCA? And that one was a lack of online presence. It's a stagnant hobby. That probably can be true. I think your local train shows, local train clubs here in Florida, but there's a Martin County train club. It's kind of a Saturday, probably sometime during the week in the evenings, where people come to meet. They have multiple gauge layouts set up in their area, and it's a repair and a social club, and they do a very good job there of addressing people's interests and needs and mentoring. TCA doesn't do that, and the TCA is the biggest. I think they're the future for me. The TCA, if I had to do it, I would start investing more in a web presence. TCA Florida has, I guess we're right now at like 310 active paid members, but we don't really ever interact with one another. You might find one or two guys that might be geographically close to you, but maybe we need to start. So maybe the future for us would be starting web classes, or doing little breakout things during shows for show people how to repair the most common issues you might come across with the post-war trains. I would like to see, well, at least I started to do it, but you also got to have the interest, is for me personally, for this channel, people enjoy the online tutorials and how to fix stuff. That should be part of a TCA educational program. if you don't invest in the future to bring kids into it, well, what better way to do that by teaching them? I know in my situation, I'm 62 right now. When I was 12 years old, I used to always bother my father. Come on, we put the trains back up, put the trains back up. And he goes, you're old enough now to learn it. So, you know, he stuck me down there and walked me through some basic wiring. And you know what? That basic wiring and learning how to do the trains made me A, not afraid to take something apart. B, you learn how things work. And just the ability to learn how to solder wires together, that stuff only gets built upon. It sets a foundation for home projects, home wiring, all that stuff. To me, it all came from learning the train hobby. So let's see if there's anything else on the list. Yeah, why buy new, overpriced stuff when post-war is proven to be cheaper and longer lasting than any of the new electronic stuff? All right, so that is the synopsis of the last video. Encouraging to see that there are still a strong base and an active base that's looking to voice what they would love to see. And we're going to see if we can keep that going. And I'm going to continue here with the holiday weekend. This is Memorial Day weekend coming up, so I'm going to hit some more landscaping and set up some more infrared controllers. I'll end this video. I'm a sucker for the 6414 transport cars, and I just came across some mint ones in boxes, so I've added them to my other ones, along with I also picked up an additional boat car. So we'll send this guy around and we'll close the day with that. All right, thanks everybody.